Hey everybody, this is Paul the Mauler Lazenby, aka Marcus Phoenix, aka Doomsday from Superman and Lois, and most importantly for the purposes of the broadcast on $2 late fee and podcasting after dark, aka Jotak from Death Stalker. I had a brilliant time talking with Corey and Zach. You cannot miss this episode. If you don't listen, if you don't watch, Jotak will be coming for you. I promise you that. Get on it.
I promise you guys listening and watching this on YouTube and Spotify, et cetera, Paul is very scary, but he did not hurt Corey and I in this episode. Yet. You're going to find out, I guess. I don't want to spoil anything. My God, I'm already terrified. So we should just start the episode, start the interview. We really had a great time with Paul, and he is amazing, and you're going to hear all about that in this episode. So hit the like button, subscribe, blah, 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 all that good stuff. A lot of fun information about stuff that Paul will be working on in the very near future, so stay tuned. And enjoy Jotak. I'm Paul, the guy who's going to kick our ass if we don't get started right now, okay? So let's just get to it. Sound good, Corey?
Sounds great.
Anything else you want to say?
Get on it.
Okay.
Welcome to our exclusive interview series for Podcasting After Dark with your hosts, Corey Stevenson and Zach Schaefer. Tonight's interview is with the star of Stephen Kostanski's Death Stalker, actor Paul Lazenby.
I don't know about you, Corey, but Paul, before we logged on with you, I was a little scared to do this interview with Jotak himself from Death Stalker. Paul Lazenby is here with us. It's a huge honor to have you on the show.
Well, thank you for having me, guys, and thank you so much. Like, I don't want to throw undue shade at people who aren't here to defend themselves, but it was refreshing listening to your podcast. I'm glad you guys liked it, but whether somebody likes the movie or doesn't, you know, the reviews of somebody who legitimately has something to say about their opinion one way or the other, they haven't been as numerous as I thought they were. So yours, I loved listening to yours because you guys actually think your opinions through.
Oh,
so
thanks.
Thanks very much for that. You articulate them well, and you liked it, which is the most important part.
Dude, and not just liked it. We freaking love that movie, and we love Jotak, the character of Jotak. It's so refreshing to have a villain that's interesting and fun, and we love the backstory of it. We even mentioned in the review that we would love to see a Tritus Jotak, prequel about the trials and tribulations that they got into. But I mean, like, all that's because of you, Paul. Like, you did such an awesome job as Jotak, made that character so much fun. And so, I mean, you just added to what a wonderful movie. And we love Steve. We love pretty much everything Steve does. So it's definitely in the pantheon of some of our favorite films.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, I've been acting and doing stunts for 26 years now. And
Wow.
Almost every acting role, I'll sit down with it and figure out who the character is and try to get into his head. And it's very rare that I've read 2 or 3 paragraphs and it's like, I got it. I know this guy. And Marcus Phoenix was one, and Jotak was absolutely another. It's and I thank you for what you said. And it's the first guy to see that was actually Daniel Bernhardt, because he used to say to me all the time, we're friends going back over 10 years. And every time we come through Vancouver, we'd have dinner, and he'd always say, Paul, I got to find us something to work together on where you're just not just like thug number 2 in the background. And
Right.
Then one day he just called me up and he said, dude, I found it. We have to get you this role. We got to run these lines. We got to get you to read for Steve, and we got to get him to pick you, because this is, you are Jotak. And so I'm glad enough people concur, and I'm glad you guys do.
Well, and then I think your all's lifelong friendship, comes through in the movie, even though you guys are adversaries for most of the film. But yeah, and then another thing we mentioned on the episode is just, it's great seeing guys like you getting front and center, again, like you said, not biker number 2 in the background or, whatever. And there's no shade on that. Obviously,
No, that was most of my career.
Yeah, there's no shade on that. I mean, I'm not biker number 2. I'm just a podcaster, but like seeing you guys actually getting close-up shots, like, and everything like that, and being front and center as these big, larger than life characters, because you are a larger than life person. It's just, we just want more of these kind of movies and seeing more of you guys doing them.
Who is he? They say he was once a knight. Before the war against the Dreadites. Surgeon with a sword. Oh, wow. He answers to only one name.
I? What name would that be?
Death Stalker. My old friend. Come and get it. The mighty Death Stalker!
I think that unfortunately the rough edges have been sanded off Hollywood a little bit too much for my taste. And
Yeah.
like there is nothing wrong with being a pretty boy who makes Magic Mike style movies and makes millions and millions of dollars and cool. Like go do that. Like I can't. So I respect the fact that you can. But I said Magic Mike because this is what really hit it for me. Channing Tatum and Magic Mike. Channing Tatum and G.I. Joe. I'm buying it. Channing Tatum in a movie called Fighting, where he's an underground bare knuckle boxer. Like, dude, that's just no. That he's not that guy, and
Right.
that's not any shade on Channing Tatum as an actor or as a star. It's just don't try to sell me that guy as a guy who should look more like his face has been punched a million times right here. So, Max Martini, who's very much an actor who's come home with, somebody else's blood on his knuckles and his own on his face more than once. He once said that Hollywood needs more men and fewer of these plucked 22-year-olds who we dress up like men.
Agreed.
Older guys with life experience, and nothing wrong with the 22-year-olds, like I said, but it's self-serving to say it, but Hollywood needs more guys like myself, like Daniel, like people with legitimate life experience that we can bring to the screen, and we've got enough acting talent to do it.
Well, there was a guy recently named Gino Kang. I don't know if you're familiar with him, but he released a movie called Hard Redemption. It just came out. Lou Ferrigno is in it as well, and I interviewed Lou.
I like it already.
Yeah, it's a really, it's like Peril in a high school, basically, like The Substitute with Tom Berenger, but yet with a legit, grand master of Taekwondo and Jiu-Jitsu and whatnot. And this guy is an ass kicker. And it's refreshing because he can act really well, but he can also kick ass. And so it's one thing, like just to kind of piggyback on what you're saying, it's one thing where you've got the skills acting wise, but if you come into this where you've got the stunt double doing all the work, or you've got, CGI kind of filling in for the gaps, that's all fine and dandy. It's all good. But I think what Corey and I were loving so much about your role in Deathstalker is, the fights felt so genuine and real, but also like, your performance was so solid and you brought a difference. Like, it's so nice to see
and humor too.
And humor. Yeah. And you, I know we're kind of like, as I like to say, glazing your donut, it's, but here we are.
But we're fans. We're fans.
No, I appreciate it, guys. I've been told the opposite type of thing long enough that I'll take this when I can get it.
You know what? The world needs less hating and more loving and more praise. If you got, like, I got an 11-year-old son, and I always say, is it true? Is it kind? Is it necessary? If it doesn't fit one of those three things, then maybe you shouldn't say it at all. So here it is. It's true. We love it. It's kind. Yeah, we're blowing you up, and it's necessary. More people need to hear that. Not to sound, like dramatic about it, but can you talk a little bit about how you got your part in Deathstalker? I mean, you alluded to it with obviously with Daniel, but
that's how it started. Is Daniel just called me up and like I answered the phone. Hey, Daniel, how you doing? He's like, I found it. I'm like, You found what?
Yeah.
And he said, I found the role. And so he started talking about it. And they said, and this guy Steve Kostansky, and like I didn't realize it, but I was already a Steve Kostansky fan because I don't follow directors by name, but I will tend to fall into seeking out their movies. If I like one of them, I'll find more. So he said, "Yeah, Steve Kostansky." I didn't recognize the name, and he said, "Yeah, he made these movies. I don't know if you heard of them, Psycho Gorman and The Void." And I went, "Yeah!" I was like, I love those movies so much. I immediately want to work with this dude. And so me and Daniel ran the lines a few times of a test. So, we're going to do a chemistry read on a 3-way Zoom with Steve. And there was 1 or 2 other people in the running. And actually, I'll circle back around to that because it's a funny story.
Okay.
And so we did the chemistry read, and it was just Steve said, "Yeah, he's the guy." But subsequent to that, a friend of mine called me up, a guy I've known for like 35 years, and he said, "So what are you doing lately?" And I said, "Well, I'm working on I'm working on this movie, that movie, and I got this thing, Death Stalker." And he went, "Whoa, Death Stalker." I said, "Yeah, what's your role?" I said, "Jotak." He goes, "Dude, I was gonna do that." It was Chris Jericho. And Chris is one of the guys.
That's funny.
When I went to the Heart Dungeon to learn to be a pro wrestler in 1991, Chris was the assistant to Lance Storm in teaching me how to wrestle. And we've been friends ever since. And it was just by sheer coincidence, he was in the running for Jotak as well.
Whoa.
Yeah, I don't think he's forgiven me for that yet.
So but, I gotta interrupt you really quickly. So Corey will join me every now and then, but I do a wrestling podcast called Territory Marks. It's all about celebrating wrestling in the 80s and 90s in the territories. And Paul London is my co-host. I don't know if you know who Paul London is, but
I absolutely know who Paul London is. He's very respected by anybody who knows anything about wrestling.
Yeah, he's a buddy of ours. So he's also part of our show 80s Kids Unite. So anyways, we got some history with wrestling roots as well.
It was funny because I was down at there's a wrestling promotion called Defy Wrestling down in Washington. They're like AAA baseball. Like the stars will every once in a while come and work there, and the up and comers are there. So Paul Walter Hauser, the actor, was there. And I'm like, "Dude, I didn't even know you were wrestling." And he's in there wrestling Joey Joe that night. And I'm like, "Who's training you?" And he went, "Paul London." I'm like, "You're good. You're good. If anybody's gonna get you ready for the ring, it's that guy." Yeah.
So Paul messages me. We're supposed to record one night, and he's like, I can't record tonight. I got to train this guy. And I go, "Oh, cool. Are you training another wrestler?" He goes, "Well, yeah, he's an actor, but he's really good." And I'm like, "Oh, cool. Who is it?" And he sends me a picture. I'm like, "Wait, Paul Walker Hauser. It's an Emmy Award-winning actors."
Yeah, him and Chavo Guerrero, I think, would be the guys to send any actor to, or any newbie that needs to know how to wrestle.
You trained in the Heart Dungeon?
Yeah. I broke in 1991. So it was my class was. Or my circle of friends at the time, Lance Storm and Chris Jericho, had not even finished their own rookie year, and they were already good enough to teach. So they taught me, and Dr. Luther, aka Luther the Butler, he was around too, and Big Titan, he was the fake Razor Ramon for a while, and he was a huge star in Japan. So that was kind of my circle of guys, them and Mike Lazenby, and that's who I got my start with.
Wow, dude, Corey. So the Heart Dungeon is infamous.
Paul, Zach knows that I don't know much about wrestling, but all of my best friends growing up were wrestling fans. So I'm like, I always have wrestling around me and I learn things through osmosis. But yeah, sorry, Zach. Go on.
No, I was just going to say, I mean, that's some royalty right there. Lance Storm is a legend. So, and Jericho,
I think I've
obviously.
heard about you talk about it on Territory Marks before. So yeah, that's where I get a lot of my knowledge, but all of that is so freaking cool. To roll it back to Deathstalker, did you watch Deathstalker like 1, 2, or 3 or anything to prepare for
I have absolutely lost count at this point. I've run it back so many times. I might have to buy another Blu-ray. I might have worn mine out already. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to pick up my Deathstalker sticker pack and Jotak lapel pin. Thank you, Creeporama, for churning those out.
What?
I got my T-shirts somewhere. I got 2 Deathstalker caps. I'm Deathstalkered up all right to the hills. Yeah, I can't get enough of that movie.
It's a lot of fun. I really like Deathstalker 2 as well, and I do think Daniel Bernhard played more closer to Deathstalker 2 than Deathstalker 1. But I did ordered my 4K with I think Steve does commentary on the new 4K on Deathstalker 1 and Deathstalker 2. So I'm excited for that. But like, I rewatched both of those in preparation for the review of Steve's Deathstalker, your Deathstalker. And I gotta say, like, I mean, we love 80s movies. That's kind of like what we champion around here. But the 2025 Deathstalker is the best version of Deathstalker. Your all's fight scenes are just so much better than those back then. How much time did you did you have to, for like just the one that you have with Daniel, like the sort of the first one in the woods and everything, like how much time is there for you guys to prep for that, because it looks so damn good?
Well, we were working under insane budgetary constraints. I have no idea how Steve pulled as many rabbits out of hats as he did. Like, hats off to everybody involved, Steve and his entire crew, because that was a movie that from what we got should have cost at least $1 million more.
Oh yeah.
And they just managed to wring every last drop out of a dollar. So in that case, we were working with very limited rehearsal time. And it's one thing that helped too is, Daniel, in addition to being an actor, has been a stunt guy and a martial artist for probably 40 plus years now. I've been some sort of athlete since 1989, 1988, and an actor and stuntman since 2000. So, and we work well together. We know each other, so we know each other's timing and everything. So that cut down a lot of the rehearsal time that might have otherwise been necessary. And then also, of course, huge shout out to Shane and Lee, the legitimate Shaolin monks that Daniel brought in to help us put the fight scenes together. And as I told them personally, they did a great job of adjusting to my clumsy guilo fighting style and dumbing everything down for somebody who's nowhere near as agile as they are.
I mean, it's amazing. And I imagine, as someone, like, I'm not a fighter, so I have no idea, but I imagine it's like, it's a lot of it is muscle memory and everything when you sort of get into it. And I'm, like you said, it helps that you and Daniel sort of know each other well and how each other fights and stuff like that. But yeah, the fight scenes just were amazing. And then you also have, some effects pieces. You have a cool, hand that has the blade stuff.
Dude.
But I gotta call out, though, my favorite part was the little micro moment of humanity that Jotak, the sadness Jotak has over the death of that eyeball creature, and you have this moment where you look genuinely sad that it's dying, and then you're like, okay, I'm done with it, and just throw it away.
Yeah.
It was like just great little moments that I do really think you brought that character of Jotak to life. And it's like moments like that are like my favorite moments in the movie.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, I think that character benefited first of all, Steve Kostansky being such a great writer and wanting to drop a little bit of humanity into Jotak, because otherwise, villains are very two-dimensional if you don't give at least something for the audience to connect with. It's been said before, every villain thinks they're the hero. And so it's because they're human beings and they're perceiving things from a different angle. You've got to show the audience that. Just if you show their motivations, then you make them more human, and that actually makes me hate them more, because like, you're a human being and doing these horrible things. That was all woven into the Jotak character. And then Steve also let me, he was very loose with his allowance in letting me try new things with Jotak, and it's, I'd approach him and just say, look, how about I do it this way instead of that way? And 90% of the time, the answer was yes. He's very open-minded. When the answer was no, there was a very solid reason for it. So I think, Steve allowing me to put what I wanted into the character, and also just being so intelligent to the way he put Jotak together in the first place, that's what caused what you see on the screen.
You got really excited when Corey brought up the hand. Can you elaborate on that, please? On that excitement?
Yeah. Well, it's I've been, like I said, an athlete since the 80s. I used to be a strongman, powerlifter, bodyguard, bouncer, mixed martial arts fighter, Muay Thai fighter, pro wrestler. So as you can guess, there's a lot of injuries under this. That's why I'm in my scrubs right now, because I just got out of the gym. So my right shoulder is coming back from being a write-off. My massage therapist, Anna Chen at Lumera Health Collective, saved it when it really should have been a write-off. So this is my bad shoulder, and that's the arm that the Jotak arm goes on, and that thing weighs 15 pounds.
Oh, geez.
So the fight scenes were just jacking me up all over the place, but it's part of the job. I was still happy to be there. So my shoulder's really giving it. I'm trying not to let anybody know, because I don't want anybody worrying about me. And then at one point, Steve, just out of curiosity, puts it on and lifts it up, and you see his face just go, "Oh my God!" Like he had no idea. He made it, but he didn't know what it was like to wear it.
Yeah.
So the cat was out of the bag.
That's funny. It's like the scene in Avengers or whatever where he tries to lift up the Thor's hammer and he can't even do it. So
Oh yeah.
it's funny
Yeah,
thing
in this
is,
case, is you got to be. I was just gonna say, in this case, you got to be unworthy to wield it.
yeah, exactly. By the way, Steven Kostanski's Steve is going to join us on an episode coming up to discuss favorite sword and sorcery movies from the 80s. So he's going to dig deep into his catalog. We're going to dig deep into the catalog of what motivates Steve Kostansky. So I know your character, and I don't want to spoil a lot of Deathstalker for everybody because there is an audience that hasn't seen it yet, and it's getting another big release in July with like a 4K, right, with the part of the with combined with the original Deathstalkers from back in the day. But will the adventures of Jotak potentially continue or be prequelized?
Well, I've already told Steve when I show wrapped on my last day of Deathstalker before I walked off set, I did tell him that if I'm not on everything he makes from now on, I'm burning his house down. So
Good call.
if there is another Deathstalker, I mean, it's with the rules by which Deathstalker universe runs, it's not impossible that Jotak would rear his exceedingly attractive bald head again. So I'm definitely up for it.
God, well, we are too.
Oh yeah, it's going to happen.
I do want to roll back a little bit into your career. You worked on Gears of War 4, right?
Gears of War Ultimate Edition 4 and 5.
25 years after our world was ripped apart from the inside, we had peace. But then, those we loved were taken.
Mom!
And everything changed. A storm is coming, and my son is walking right into it.
Did that involve you having to like wear a mocap suit and all that kind of stuff?
Yeah, in 2002, I just kind of became the in-house big guy at Electronic Arts. So I did a ton of motion capture on all kinds of games, especially for big guy superheroes. And so my good friend Rob Hader, who's a stunt coordinator in Vancouver that I've known for a long time, and he brought me in to audition for something and couldn't tell me what it was. And when reading it, even though I'm not a gamer, I started realizing, oh, wait a minute, this is Marcus Phoenix. So, I booked it and did 3 games in that. And yes, it was on motion capture. So Coalition Studio is kind of funny. They want the voice talent getting 100% of the credit for all the work. So to the point of even like filming a video of the motion capture talent or the voice talent in motion capture suits to lead people to believe they did our work. But actually, if you're playing the games, it's the motion capture cast, which is a completely different cast. And no throwing no shade at the voice talent. I'm a voice actor myself. I know there's a lot more to it than people realize, but
yeah,
all the acting, all the stunts, all everything. If you're playing those games, I'm Marcus Phoenix. I'm also Paddock and Oscar in Gears 5.
Okay.
And Aaliyah O'Brien is Kate Diaz. Alex Ponovic is Oscar in one of the in Gears 4, I believe. And so there are 2 casts, and the motion capture cast did everything, including the dialogue, which was then redone by the voice talent.
Okay, so you also did the dialogue as well then.
Yeah, we did everything exactly as we would for a TV show or a motion picture. The only difference being we didn't have to worry about camera angles and hitting marks.
Right. So you're basically going through the motion and holding the gun and everything. I mean, you're doing the acting and the voice acting, the body acting, everything like that. And then they replace the voices with the voice actors basically. Okay.
Yeah, I was kind of hoping that at some point John DiMaggio, who's the voice of Marcus Phoenix, very justifiably he's associated with the character more than anybody else. He's like Kane Hodder with Jason.
Right.
Yeah.
Early in Gears Ultimate, somebody asked me like, if we ever lose John DiMaggio, like you sound like him too, would you? I'm like, yes, absolutely, man. This is Marcus freaking Phoenix. But I was happy to get what I could get, and it was overall a great experience working with some great people and do some real. It wasn't just action. I mean. One of the first times I was actually able to get choked up on purpose was a scene between myself and Jonathan Weitzel, who's playing Marcus's son JD, when, you know, they've got a very contentious relationship and they're in a really emotional moment. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm getting a lump in my throat. This is awesome. I've never been able to do this on purpose.
Yeah, because it's not just the game itself. It's not just you just chainsawing creatures in half and running. You're actually, characters are emoting and there's actually drama and character interaction happening, and you're involved with all of that.
Yeah, and I will say this: if I had to pick one singular moment where I was most taken aback by the staggering level of talent of one of my coworkers, and again, this is a spoiler, but it's Gears 4. The game has been out for a long time.
Yeah.
So, Kate Diaz basically has to kill her own mother to free her from swarm captivity. She has to cut her loose, and in cutting her loose, she's going to kill her. So they're saying their goodbyes. And Aaliyah O'Brien, who is playing Kate Diaz, she was a complete emotional wreck during those scenes. She did it 3 times, 3 different ways. All of them felt equally genuine. And at the end of every take, the director whispered cut because everybody was so just stunned by what they just watched.
Wow.
And after cut, there was always about 15 seconds of silence that nobody wanted to break because it would have felt like yelling at a funeral. It was just, Aaliyah so knocked that scene out of the park, just tears streaming down her face. So there was some really, really good work done on those games that unfortunately has been hidden under a blanket.
I mean, as I'm a gamer, and I do hope, I know it's getting more so these days, but like, I do hope it gets the recognition that it deserves. Cause there's some, especially nowadays with the graphics, you can really pull out some genuinely emotional moments from these games where, cause I think a lot of times the mainstream audience, like, oh, video games, not Pong, but Nintendo, NES, little 8-bit graphics. It's like, no, these are actors, acting and emoting, and the graphics are so good that it comes through. And I'm happy that we're getting to that point. I just now hope you guys get the recognition you deserve for bringing these characters to light.
Thanks very much. I mean, it's already at the point where, like I said, the voice talent are getting recognized. I just would like to see everybody get recognized for what they actually did.
Right.
But I got to work on Gears. I get to say that I played Marcus Phoenix, which is huge for me. So I'm already winning, and if that recognition came in the future, it'd be nice. And if it doesn't, then hey, I'm still winning. So I either way. But thank you very much. I appreciate the sentiment for sure.
It's a little bit of different physical work versus doing Deathstalker, like you said, with that 15-pound arm that you're having to lift up and attach to your body. But circling back to Deathstalker, were there any particular scenes that really stand out to you that you were like, oh man, that was a lot of fun to shoot?
You alluded to the first of the 3 times that Deathstalker and Jotak fight, and that's my favorite fight scene of my whole career.
Wow.
And I've had some great ones, but just it's a lot of that is down to Andrew Appel, cinematographer, and Steve and the whole rest of the team, because the way they shot it has a lot to do with that. But of course, like I said, it was a perfect storm because you had all that talent behind the camera. And then it's me and Daniel, and Daniel's so ridiculously talented. You got to have 3 left feet to look bad if Daniel's trying to make you look good. And and our timing is so in sync with each other, and we could take a few more chances with those swords because I know he's not going to screw up, and he knows that I'm going to take care of him. Whereas if you're with someone you're not quite familiar with, you're going to be a little more guarded and have fewer options open to you. So we can really lay it out there, and so that one for sure, and also the scene where Jotak gets his monster arm. I was so exhausted after that was over, but just the back and forth with Nicholas Rice. How great was he as Necromemnon?
We loved him.
That dude. He didn't chew the scenery. He bought big giant chunks out of it, man. But it always worked. And Nick was so fantastic, and he's a gentleman of an advanced age, so I expected sooner or later he's going to be running out of energy, and especially in that scene, I'm laying down and I'm running out of energy before he was. I was like, I had to call Steven at one point. Can you cue Steven or cue Nicholas a little earlier because I'm fading from all this screaming and stuff. But it was so much fun to work with Nick. I hope we do it again.
Yeah, he was Necronymnom. He was I can never get the name right, but like he was so much fun. There's this energy. The movie walks this fine line between being like a live action cartoon, but like a live action rated R cartoon. And then the fact that like your hand immediately goes to try to kill you, and you got to control it. Like it all comes through. And even the fight scene that you were talking about with Daniel, like you guys are both big dudes. And again, I do love 80s movies and everything, but the choreography is just not the same back then as it is
Yeah.
now because you guys, it truly feels like a clash of the Titans, like it feels like you can feel your all's muscles, like your weight behind all the hits and everything like that. And that's why I still say it's the best version of Deathstalker, but the comedy is also what makes it great too. All of it. It's a great
Dude,
stew.
I love doing comedy as well. Like I always want to do more of it. I've done
You're
children's
great at it.
programming. I've done, and it's and any comedy. So to see comedic elements in this were great because initially I'm old enough to have seen the original Deathstalker in the first run. So when I heard, okay, Deathstalker, cool, I was kind of stoked. But then I'm thinking back, like even Joe Bob Briggs called Deathstalker the one kind of rapey.
Yeah.
And it's like,
Yeah.
that's stuff that I find really like, I understand that sort of thing is a necessary element to certain stories, but I just find it really difficult to sit through. And in Deathstalker 1, it was totally gratuitous and unnecessary and unpleasant for me. Even though I love the franchise on the whole, it was like I'm flipping through Steve's Deathstalker 2025, cringing, waiting for something that they're going to ask me to do I don't want to do, and it was never there. So I love that he updated it. I'm not a big fan of sanding the rough edges off of everything, but in this
Right.
case, I think it was a really solid update, and he removed an unpleasant element that wasn't needed for this particular story. So I commend Steve for that.
And I mean, I do go by quote unquote sleazy C on the show, and I'm as much as I want to see nudity in a movie, I don't want to see it now. I want to see it consensual. I would rather see consensual
Yeah.
nudity. And that is the one thing Zach and I definitely don't care for with a lot. It happens in a lot of the Roger Corman 80s sword and sorcery movies. It's kind of rapey. But the cool thing that what Steve did was I liked how he made the world clearly an alien world. Because like if you go back and watch Deathstalker 1, you're not quite sure where it takes place. Deathstalker 2 clearly takes place on Earth, but I like how this version is most definitely not Earth. And it allows him to add these like awesome, like almost Star Wars-esque elements of like background creatures kind of doing their thing where it's not pertaining to the story, but they're back there. It feels like a lived-in world that exists even when Jotak and Deathstalker aren't there. It feels like other things are happening.
And also, Steve's alluded to this as well. One thing that attracted him to doing a modern version of Deathstalker is that even the rules going from Deathstalker 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 are kind of loose, which means he's not rigidly held to this canon where the fans are going to be outraged if he violates somewhere along the way, if he violates the canon. The rules were already loose, and then if you're in a completely alien world, well, okay, now all bets are off. Now it's in the Kostansky verse where Steve decides what happens, and that was a great call because, like you said, now whatever he imagines, he can put it on the screen and not have to justify it.
Yeah, it's almost like Mad, like I always want to see Mad Max done this way, where it's like just like I know that his car gets destroyed in every movie, just bring it back in the next one because they're all just different fables, they're all different stories being told about Mad Max. You can do that with Deathstalker and Jotak. Just these are all just different stories being told by different people, and you can bring them back. It kind of doesn't matter, just as long as the story is cool.
Yeah.
What I love about your Deathstalker is I remember, like you're saying, you're reading the script and going, okay, when's the problematic quote unquote scene going to come up in this script? I think as a viewer with the lens of having a young son who loves sword and sorcery, Dungeons and Dragons, cosplaying, et cetera, I'm watching it the first time. And I saw it with Paul, by the way, Paul London, here in Santa Monica for the premiere. And I'm watching it going, okay, when's the quote unquote rapey scene going to come up, or where's the nudity? And there wasn't. And I'm like, I cannot wait to show this to my son because he's going to trip out on it because he loves making things with the practical effects that Steve does, which is also so refreshing in a world of CGI and a world of, everything being green screened, which has its own place and it's all good. But this was such a great throwback. And, as a kid, and I'm sure you, Paul, and Corey, we all can relate to being in the video store, seeing the tapes on the wall of, these beautiful posters for these movies like Deathstalker or Fire and Ice or Conquest. And you're like, well, why is that girl half naked or what's going on there as a kid, right? And then you're not allowed to watch it. Hopefully, your parents are like, no, you got to wait till you're a little bit older. Or in our case,
which means you're going to watch it.
Yeah, of course.
You're going to watch it. Yeah, you're going to sneak out and watch it.
Hey, kid, don't eat that marshmallow that's sitting on the table. I'll be back in 5 minutes. And you come back, where'd the marshmallow go? But it's that kind of idea of like, we watched those things as kids. But was it a repeat viewing for a wide audience? Probably not. This is like Corey and I collectively have watched Deathstalker probably 5 or 6 times since
I've showed
the
it to
movie's
multiple people.
Awesome.
Yeah,
right. And we're always like, oh, you want to see something wild? Check this out.
And you showed it to Bodie though, didn't you?
Oh yeah, we watched it twice. And what I love about it though, to go back to that original idea, is that it's accessible for a wide audience. Versus the movies of old. You show that to an audience now, and some people are going to cringe at it and go, I don't know if I can watch any more of this. This is not one of those movies, unless you don't mind gore. And if you do mind gore, then you probably wouldn't have watched this in the first place.
Yeah, it's and I love that Steve made it accessible to a lot of people, but not just for its own sake.
Right.
Not just, okay, well, I'm not going to put this in here. With Steve, I'm not going to put these elements in here, but it's because I'm putting these things in that I think are better, and they serve the movie. Like I actually called them once because even my friend's wife said, I was disappointed there's no boobs in this. And so I was ribbing Steve.
I like your friend's
wife.
I was
ribbing Steve. Yeah, she's awesome. My buddy married very well, man. She's awesome. And so Steve said, well, first of all, he said, I wanted to pay off all the monsters I didn't get to see by selling all the boobs that I did. Like, we've already got the boobs. They came as advertised with all those amazing posters that you were just talking about.
Yeah.
But the monsters on the poster, Steve talks about this a lot. You see Deathstalker 1. Oh, I want to see him fight that giant troll. And then he never does. It's never in the freaking movie. It's a bait and switch. So he's like, I'm going to pay off all the monsters that I wished I could have saw as a kid. And then he said, and also, you got to see Swamp Monster boobs, so technically there's one set in there.
Yeah.
My son definitely pointed that out. He's like, that's a boob. And I go, yeah, I know. There you go. So you're saying, like, obviously with the fight scenes being so authentic and having a wrestling background, I want to circle back to that a little bit because you have some history with somebody named Stone Cold Steve Austin, right? And
I do.
Was that a good history or not such a good history?
Well, it's still going on. So so far it's been good, but who knows? It started with a movie called Damage. And I was brought in to play his opponent. And because he played now this is a movie where they cast it right. He's an underground bare knuckle fist fighter. And
right.
I totally buy it when it's Austin.
Congratulations, Mr. Brickner. It is my strong hope that you make good with your life on the outside.
How's it been going?
I think 8 hours a week. It's killing me.
Good job.
Toast to John Brickner and his size 13 fists. 100,000. It's good, but it's not good enough.
It's a long line of people you owe money to.
You know, to the death, right?
Anything else I should know?
I spent the last few weeks beating other men into submission for money.
Good.
Hey.
Let's get it on.
You pissed clean. Good. I'll get out of here.
So we met on that set, and he had a really busy day. We had to fight 3 guys in one day. So I'm going to do all your fight scenes with this guy, then this guy, and I'm last in the rotation. But they brought in some real fighters in town, including a local kickboxer who is very accomplished, but not very experienced in film fighting, which is very different from real fighting. So when Steve would swing a punch at him, he'd flinch backward. And Steve was new enough to the business, and I had this problem too as a pro wrestler, where if there's too much air between my fist and your face in a pro wrestling match, that's death, because the crowd's going to see it. You got to get close. You got to, so you got to learn how to play punches, but you got to be close. Whereas in movies or TV, if the camera's in the right position, my fist can be a foot away from your face and it looks like it connected. So Steve's trying to close enough distance that it doesn't look wrestler fake. This guy keeps flinching away, so Steve's getting used to lunging forward an extra inch or two with his punches. Well, then it's time for him to fight me. I'm used to fighting people where we set the range, and that's the range. And I'm standing right in the pocket, and Steve just came a quarter of an inch in too deep. Ooh. And no fault of his own, because it was muscle memory from the previous guy. And it was just the one time, and of course it was the last take. We shot it like 8 times, and of course it was the last. He's always on the last one. And this is how tough Stone Cold Steve Austin is. He came in a quarter of an inch too deep. His pinky knuckle caught my nose and moved the entire thing under my eye.
Oh God!
Like it was the most severe nose. But that was my 16th broken nose, and by far the worst. And I remember it went bang, and I felt it. I'm like, oh, that's bad. And Steve kind of froze, and I went, keep going, because I wanted to save the shot. And being a pro, he just picked up, and we saved the shot. And then it was hurting, but I'm like, I'm cool. And so, okay, cool. So, bump knuckles, and I walk off. And usually when you get hit in the nose, it hurts, and then the pain starts to subside. In this case, it was increasing. Oh. Like, okay, this isn't good. And then it just opened up like a faucet. It was like, I'm surprised I had any blood left. They were handing me paper towels, and I'm like, next. And I just took a bath towel.
Oh my God.
Yeah. So it was funny because Steve, he felt so freaking bad. It took me about 20 minutes to convince him that it wasn't really his fault. Like, I've clipped people in film fights too. It happens once in a while. And when I finally got him, cool about it, the paramedics are working on me, and he disappears for a second. Well, he's rummaging through their ambulance while I'm here. And he comes back, and he's got his arm in his sling and an ice pack on his knuckles. And he goes, hey, you want to stop screwing around with Lazenby and take care of my bruised hand?
Wow, that's amazing. I thought he'd bring you some beer from his El Segundo brewery to...
Well, that was a long time ago, so he didn't have that going on yet. But
Okay.
he did. The next movie, he came to Vancouver for 6 more movies after that in rapid succession.
Oh, wow.
And they realized that I looked a lot like him with hair. So instead of flying somebody in from Toronto like they had previously, they asked me to do it. And after the first movie, and I've never had anybody do this before. Usually it's the stunt coordinator who organizes who your double is until unless you get a really close relationship with them. We did that one movie, The Stranger. And then Steve went back home, and like one day I just got a phone call, and it's Steve Austin. I'm like, hi. He said, yeah, look, dude, as far as I'm concerned, you're my guy. If you want to come back, I'm coming back to Vancouver for a movie. Do you want to double me again? Like, yeah, absolutely. I've never heard the actor directly call me before. So that was it. It was locked in, and then it was like 5 more movies after that, I think, and we still talk all the time.
Oh, that's awesome, and it sure does beat having to get hit in the face another time by him as well.
Exactly.
Well, what a way to start a friendship, though.
Yeah, exactly. The punch. Well, a lot of guy friendships start that way with a punch in the face.
I was gonna say, literally, that's how Corey and I met. I hit him in the face, and he spit in mine. Did you grow up watching wrestling as a kid?
Yes, I loved wrestling. My parents wouldn't let me watch it. They were elitists, but I had a couple of friends, thank God, I could sneak off to their place on Saturday and watch it. So I was a huge wrestling fan.
Any particular guys you've liked?
Yeah, when I was a real little kid, it was the Boogie Woogie Man, Jimmy Valiant.
Yeah,
and I was more of a tag team fan. So Jay Youngblood and Ricky Steamboat. And then later on, the Soul Patrol, Rocky Johnson and Tony Atlas. Those were my favorite tag teams until I saw the Road Warriors, which, of course, that's everybody. The first time you see the Road Warriors, that's your favorite tag team.
As a wrestling adjacent fan, I love the Road Warriors because I was also a big Mad Max fan growing up as a kid.
There you go.
80s. Yeah.
Dude, I mean, you mentioned Boogie Woogie Man, by the way, and who's still alive and kicking and occasionally will show up at a wrestling match. I will throw in Pretty Young Things. If you've never heard of Pretty Young Things, it was Coco Beware before he became Coco Beware.
Right.
And his tag team partner was the original member of the Midnight Express. This is throwing it way back. This is a deep cut.
Randy Rose?
No.
Was it Randy Rose?
I forget his name
Dennis
now.
Condrey?
No. This big black guy who looks a little bit like Mark Henry was one of the original members. There was a faction of Midnight Express before it was.
Wow.
Yeah, I know.
I didn't know there was a black dude in the Midnight Express.
So here's the thing.
White rednecks.
Corey can back me up on this. Paul and I go deep into the territory wrestling days, and it was before when the Midnight Express first started. Bobby Eaton got brought into it, and that was before the Midnight Express is what it has become today. So.
Wow, man. I got to look that up, man. I just learned something. Yeah, that's crazy.
Yeah, you're welcome. But no, your quote, Road Warriors is talk about if they ever did a biopic on the Road Warriors, you'd be our pick to play either Hawk or Animal. I'd say probably Animal. You'd probably be more Animal, right?
He was always the guy that I liked better because Hawk had the better looking physique, but Animal was the guy that I had a better chance of looking like. I don't have his arm genetics, but he looked more like a good looking power lifter. And I learned very early on I don't have a physique that lends itself to bodybuilding with the V taper and stuff, but I can build muscle. So I liked that big brute look. He's basically like Gimli hit with a growth ray.
Thank God you're not Boogie Woogie Man with
Do you have anything coming up that you want to discuss or plug? Any projects coming up that are near and dear to your heart?
Well, I just finished yesterday. I just wrapped on a Western called Brimstone that I'm really excited about. Ooh. And in fact, it's directed by a friend of Stephen Kostansky's, Quincy Wheeler-Hendren. So in fact, I was told that when Quincy was looking to cast my character, he found out Steve worked with me and called him, and thank you, Steve, for putting in the recommendation.
Right.
But that's one that I'm particularly high on. So keep your eyes open for that. And it's actually the business is slow in LA. It's better in Vancouver, but still kind of crawling along. But I do have a couple of books that I just happen to have here actually. The When We Were Bouncers series.
Cool.
Cool. This is a series of interviews with famous and accomplished people. How do I get there? There we go. With famous and accomplished people who used to be bouncers. Steve Austin actually wrote the foreword for volume 2. Cool. But so it's UFC champions, WWE champions, movie stars, comedians, musicians, stuff like that. And the first 2 volumes, When We Were Bouncers 1 and 2, are out on Amazon, and the podcast version is in development. We've got about 35 interviews in the can already. Awesome. That should be out by the end of summer, but that's a long estimate. I'm hoping to have it out before then. Oh, and I want to add one more thing, because one last story. I was originally contracted to play both Jotak and Pigman.
Oh. Okay.
And at one point, it was coming up on Pigman was going to be my final day in Sudbury. We did most of the shooting in Sudbury, and then one last day of pickups months later in Toronto. And so I got a very awkward phone call from the stunt coordinator when I was just about to do the Pigman day, and he went, "Were you signed to do Pigman?" I said, "Yeah, I got the contract right here." And he went, "Oh." And there's this dead silence, like, oh my God. Because, sometimes bureaucratic administrative wires get crossed. And I guess he hadn't been informed. So he had booked somebody else as well. So now he's on the horns of having to make an awkward phone call. So I just thought, I've had this great run as Jotak. This is a one-day gig. Help a brother stuntman get a day.
Right.
I said, and it was a gentleman named John Ambrose, I believe his name is. And so I said, yeah, let give the job to John. And looking back, casting wise, it was a good move because John is about 4 inches taller than me and a very big guy as well. and Pigman was, So I would have made a good Pigman, but height wise, I think, and John filled out the frame too. So I think he was a better physical match. But I subsequently found out from watching Joe Bob Briggs that the original Pigman was an Argentinian pro wrestler named Jose Arevalo. And if I had realized the original Pigman was a pro wrestler, I probably would have kept the role to preserve Pigman's pro wrestling lineage.
Right.
So, Mr. Ambrose, if you are watching or listening to this, you're on the hook. You got to train and do at least one pro wrestling match to keep the Pigman as a pro wrestler.
That's amazing. Oh, that's so great.
That's awesome.
Look at all these connections. I love it. It's so wild. And I mean, I'm so glad that happened the way it did, but Yeah, maybe if they do Deathstalker 2, then maybe not a pig man, but maybe you could be like a frog man or something. I don't know.
I don't know. Actually, you know what? Now that you mention it, didn't Deathstalker do an intergender pro wrestling match in a ring in Deathstalker 2?
That's
Yes,
Deathstalker
they-
2.
yeah,
Yes.
they did.
Daniel, you and me got to talk. You're
It's
getting in the
happening.
ring.
And,
Yeah.
and as much as we love Jericho, it would have been a totally different movie. I'm glad that we got the movie that we got as Jotak
thank you.
instead. It's I think you definitely made that character very, very interesting, very much your own, very unique, especially to the Deathstalker universe, and even just to. I've been watching a lot of sword and sorcery movies lately, and you need the villain to be fun, and intimidating, and you sir are both.
That's music to my ears, man. That's exactly what I was going for.
That is so awesome. We had such a blast talking to you, Paul. Thank you so much for being on the show. And we hope everyone enjoys this interview. If you're listening, make sure you swing on by YouTube and watch the video version. And of course, swing on by the show notes and pick up the books that Paul has in there. We have the links to them in Amazon and everything like that. And there you go. And we will, of course, have links to his Instagram page and everything there. So make sure you give Paul a follow.
Yeah, Paul, this has been phenomenal. I feel like we went down a really great rabbit hole with you, covering obviously everything from Deathstalker, but the beginnings, the middles, and all the good stuff that's coming up in the future. Thanks for being on our show.
Thanks for having me, guys. Like I said before, man, I love interacting with people that aren't scared to just be fans. A lot of people feel like even within the context of a positive review, they need to be saying something snide so they can be too cool for the room. And I like how you guys are like, if you like it, you're not scared to say you like it. If you don't like it, I would presume you'd be the same. And that's nobody could ask for any more than that. And you're the guys we got to impress. I mean, it's you that are going to determine whether or not there's a Deathstalker too. So, it makes me feel good to hear that you guys liked it.
Oh, we more than liked it. We loved it. And this interview was everything we hoped it would be. You were awesome. Jotak is an awesome character. We do hope we see more of him in the future. But I think Jotak is awesome because Paul Lazenby is awesome. So thank you so much for being on the show.
Really appreciate it, guys.
Until next time. Well, the next time will be the return of Jotak back from the grave.
Why not?
We'll see. I mean, he's how many times he died now? Twice, 3 times, something like that. So I think it's becoming something of a habit. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Jotak rearing his very attractive head again.
Yeah, and it's cool.
Yeah, I'm glad you put the attractive part in there too.
Thank you for listening to Podcasting After Dark's exclusive interview series with Paul Lazenby. And, as always, thank you for your support.